If I can answer that, I think never before has it been as important as it is now in this critical time in all our history that independents are put in there, because we've seen the value of party politics where they will do what they're told. They'll go in and vote whatever way they want to do. Independent will vote with the people and for the people.
Sorry, Chairman? Yeah. Yes, go ahead. I mean, there is a more fundamental question than just about the parties. It is about the Constitution as well, and about the need for political reform. We probably need fewer TDs. We need, in order that we're not actually dominated by parish politics the way we have been, we need to elect some of our TDs within constituencies, and we probably need to elect people within a list system so they can actually do their job of legislating. We probably could have dealt with the crisis better if there had been some mechanism as well for less backbiting within the Dáil, within the political system, that perhaps if the President had called people together and said, listen, get your heads together and deal with this. But that, you know, as much as the government was weak, the government that we had was weak, the opposition was also weak as well. And
would you agree with that, Al, when you were nodding there?
Well, we're talking about going forward and the possibility of a Fine Gael Labour government. We saw over the last number of years how difficult it was to remove Fianna Fáil and the Greens with possibly a 2 to 3 seat majority. It took us 2.5 years to do it. We're looking now at the possibility of people that have been entrenched in the political system for the last 30, 35 years, that have gone by that rule book, that are institutionalised by the political culture, now possibly having a 30 to 40 seat majority in the next government. They have unpopular decisions to make, there is no doubt about that. But let them put their shoulder to the wheel first and the rest will follow. Let those who have paid put their shoulder to the wheel first and the rest will follow. Fine. I don't think any of us, but the possibility is that the next government will be more unpopular than the last government within 2 to 3 years, and with a 30 to 40 seat majority, we'll never get them out.
Susan, I mean, that's not a ringing endorsement of a possible future coalition.
Labour and Fine Gael are going into a coalition together. If the mandate is given to those two parties to go into a coalition together, then those negotiations will take place over many days, won't they?
You change your mind on them.
I'm sorry. And Eamon Gilmore has given his pledge that he will not back down on his commitment in those negotiations. And the negotiations may not include me. They may not include John Perry. We can't say, either of us here, how the negotiation will come out. But what Eamon Gilmore is saying is he will be party to the negotiations as the leader of the Labour Party, and he is committing that he will not back down.
Just on this point, it's a very important point, but this point has got to be clarified. This is a critical. This point has got to be clarified. This is the, because it's not. No, I'm not. This is the point. What I'm saying very clearly here. No, what I'm saying very clearly here, because no point.
2 years.
It is very much like the. No, this is the statement here in Sligo, that the retention and the reinstatement, the cancer campaigning group are here. This has been the campaign that I've been working with since the very start, and it is what they're now seeking is the return and the retention of a satellite facility of Sligo General Hospital.
Mark, yeah, come in there, please. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, thanks. 3 quick things. First of all, I just want to put the record straight on 2 quick points. On the 15th of October 2007 on Ocean FM, I started the cancer campaign. Secondly, on the 17th of October, I put down a motion in Shannon, which remains I'll get to that, Susan. I didn't interrupt you, if that's okay. No, I will. Yes, I said. Yeah, I will. Yeah, hold on a second now, please. The only person to put down a Sligo-specific motion, specific to maintaining services and enhancing them in Sligo, the only person in the Shannon or the Dáil to do that was me. I voted against a motion which was disingenuous in the extreme of Fine Gael to say they were putting services in Letterkenny, in Castlebar and in Sligo, which will not happen, and I vote against it again tomorrow. But let me say this, if as an opposition party member, if as an opposition deputy, I will support the plans of anybody to put a centre of excellence in Sligo. And if in government, I will use my front bench position in Fianna Fáil, which I have never had before, and I have not been a deputy, to ensure the provision of linear accelerators at Sligo General Hospital for the provision of radiotherapy treatment, which will eliminate the need for travel to people, which I wish to see. No, I don't accept it will never happen. I don't accept it will never happen. I accept we must have that, in the interest of human rights, we must have that aspiration. We must have
One simple question. Will the Labour Party pull out of coalition if it's not granted? Kieran, just in relation, just in relation to that, I think there's one question needs to be answered, or to ask of both people that have put forward proposal tonight, one for a satellite centre and one for the retention or the reinstatement of the services. Can you give us a time frame, please? Yes.
John?
Yeah, I can, yes. Yeah,
thank you.
Absolutely not. I spoke to Tim Hanlon this week and I visited the hospital, exactly what is now required. The time frame, it is, this can be brought back immediately. Not can, when, not can, when. This is the point that I can answer very clearly. What I'm saying here quite categorically is this, because this is an issue that I'm not playing politics on. It's an issue that I know that an Enda Kenny will be the Taoiseach, despite the fact that... When will the services come back? Can you put a time frame on it, please? Alvin, when did you take the role of chairman? I asked a question.
Right now, Alvin has asked a question, so we've asked for a time frame. John, if you'd like to just answer that uninterrupted, we'll make sure. Go ahead.
Yes, the time frame. I spoke to Tim Hanlon this week. He said he would be...
The time frame for the coalition government to bring this in.
Within the first 100 days of office.
Within the first 100 days. Okay, there's the answer. Right? Within the first 100 days.
I'm still
okay with you, Susan?
Mr. Chairman, I'm still waiting.
Okay.
Can I just very briefly, just in regard to the issue of the cancer service, I would just make the point that it's Fianna Fáil policy. It has been Fianna Fáil policy to close the breast cancer service in Sligo. They implemented that policy. It's still their policy, and by voting Fianna Fáil on Friday week, you're voting to keep the breast cancer service closed in Sligo. It's as simple, it's as black and white as that. I know there are individuals within Fianna Fáil who don't like the cancer service closing, but it's party policy. That's the bottom line. I would also make the point, Chairman, because we were talking about, you began this section of the debate by saying that there's quite a number of divisions between Fine Gael and Labour. But I would also say that there's significant agreement, not only between Fine Gael and Labour, but between all the three main political parties, because they're all signed up to a consensus for cuts whereby ordinary people are being asked to pay for the gambling debts of the banks and the speculators. And the candidates from these three parties, I think, have to be asked tonight, how can they morally justify the Irish people being burdened with the private debts of these bankers and bondholders? I think that the nominees from the three parties should answer that. How can they morally justify these private debts being paid off by the Irish people?
Would you like to answer that?
I would like to answer the question, but I would also ask Councillor Bree a question myself, and that is, how would he propose to pay off the debts? Anyone would imagine, listening to Councillor Bree, that the Labour Party wants to do this, that we are going to enjoy trying to get rid of these debts that have been accumulated. We're not going to enjoy it for a single second, but we have been saddled with a mountain of debt from a previous government. We're not going to rehearse all that, we know that. And the debt is huge, and we cannot simply walk away from all... Excuse me, please, let me... Can I finish, please? Can I finish? Can I finish? Thank you. We have said we are going to renegotiate the debt. We have said we want the senior bondholders to take their haircut, hit, burn, whatever you call it. But nobody can calculate how that will play out until we sit down and have those negotiations when we're in government. We can pretend, if we like, in this room that it's going to be like that in the morning. It will not be like that. Those negotiations will be very difficult, but we have given our pledge that that is what we will do in government, that we will negotiate, because we know we have to take some of the burden, as much of the burden away as we possibly can. And Councillor Bree, you can shake your head if you like. What would you do about it as one man in Dáil Éireann? Please tell the audience.
I would say... Ask the question, Chairman. How can Labour morally justify the Irish people being burdened with the debts, the private debts of bankers? And what we have heard, what the response is that they won't enjoy putting that burden on the Irish people. There is no justification, Chairman. There is no justification. There shouldn't be 1 cent of that debt paid off. That's private debt. Let the bankers, let the developers, let the speculators pay for it. But by God, the Irish people shouldn't pay for it.
If only it was that easy. My goodness, we wouldn't be sitting here today if it was that easy.
It's not easy.
Chairman,
you didn't answer the question you were asked, which was, what would you do, Councillor Bree?
I wouldn't pay for the private debts of bankers and
And how would you deal with the debt?
I would let the private developers and speculators look after it themselves. It's not sovereign debt, it's not the debt of the Irish people. And it's interesting that Labour Party people are heckling me, that the Labour Party members in this hall, what's left of the Labour Party in fairness, because the former members would have a different, but Labour Party members in this hall are actually saying that Irish taxpayers' money should be used to pay the debts of speculators and developers. It's amazing. Okay. I see John Gaffney there. He's very annoyed about this. Well, John, if you believe that that money, that taxpayers' money should be used to pay for speculators and developers, well, it's unfortunate that the Labour Party has come to this.
The real world,
Chairman,
doesn't work like that. And Councillor Bree knows right well
Chairman.
that in the real world we have to face up to the realities of what has happened.
Chairman,
and we cannot walk away from all of the debt.
Can we let somebody else in, please?
Absolutely.
There are two forms of debt. There is sovereign debt, which is debt that we have incurred as a state, and there is the debt of private banks. Now, the reason we ended up being so prone on the issue of private bank debt was because we were already in hoc by 2007-2008 to the European Central Bank. We allowed ourselves, we were prone to being dictated to.
We don't need to know, actually, look, with all due respect, Johnny, that's in the past.
No, we still have that. We still have that debt.
Get out of it. Dick, what have you got to say there about?
Chairman, just to make a point, I'll concede on the first question. I got no answer to it. So I'll go on to the part I would suggest could be done and stop all this shouting. What about a public referendum on the default?
John Ferry, would you agree with that?
Chairman, thank you, Chairman. I would agree with Dick on this one. I believe that the public at large would definitely need that we have to separate our sovereign debt from our private bank debt. Yes. The second thing, and Sinn Féin have committed that not 1 cent of taxpayers' money will go to the private banks, not 1 cent. And if that's overturned by the electorate, so be it. The second thing that needs to be done is to sort out that mess the mess that Fianna Fáil have made of the public finances. And we can do this with a new budget, and there needs to be a new budget, which would include, and this is stark, a 48% tax rate on those earning more than 100,000 a year. And we would get rid of a whole range of tax exemptions for the wealthy, which would save almost $2 billion a year. We would introduce a 1% wealth tax. We would have wide-ranging cuts to the salaries of ministers, TDs, Taoiseach, and we would cap the maximum public service wage.
Okay, well that's fine. Look, that's great, and there are things to be doing. As I understand the system, it's Article 27 of the Constitution, which hasn't been tested yet. It could be invoked, which means a referendum, and basically burn the bondholders, burn the banks to help them. And they don't have a memory.
Could I just add one little point that you mightn't realise? If my suggestion of a referendum was taken, it would also be a referendum on our position in Europe.
John?
This issue is a huge issue for the future success.